Wednesday. Okay, so let's talk about our sketch for this week. This is the sketch we're doing. It is sketch 12. So a little bit of backstory. Actually, I have a couple backstories to tell you about this sketch, but one backstory. So as you know, I do all kinds of sizes on my channel, and I have been searching. Every time I pull a layout up, every time I look at it, I've been looking and looking for one that I can show you guys how to reimagine it as an 8.5 by 11 layout. And so that's what we're going to do today. I'm sorry if that disappoints many of you, but, or, you know, if you're a 12 by 12 scrapbooker, well, here's the sketch and you can totally go for it. But I also know that I have a lot of 8.5 by 11 scrapbookers, and you can take most of Shimelle sketches and kind of reimagine them as a different size, I believe. But I'm going to show you how to do it, and I've kind of been looking for one that really lends itself well to doing that, and that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to take our sketch, but we're going to reimagine it as a 12 by 12 layout. And then let's talk about product. So I'm going to use these 3 photos of my son, and I'll be honest, when I went through my paper pads, I know I'm doing paper pads this whole month, but I had a really hard time imagining these photos with any of the papers in my paper pads. They just didn't go right, and so I'm going to deviate from the paper pad today, just because I have this jelly bean soup collection in my stash called Mushroom Medley, and you guys look how beautiful, like, it matches. It has all the colors, it's outdoorsy, it's so perfect. It has these really nice little cut apart sheets. So when I was trying to figure out what I want to do for this layout, I ran into, like, okay, do I just go back and pick new photos and do a 12 by 12, or do I stick to the plan but deviate from the paper pads and use a collection? And so I am going to deviate from the paper pads and use a collection, because I can't. This is perfect. I know what I want my title to be. I know this sketch works so perfectly for my photos and what I want to do. So that's the plan. Okay, so I'm gonna get started, and I hope you like what I come up with. So I'm going to start by going over what I have in this bag and in this collection. This is a well-used line for me. My jelly bean soup lines usually go quite quickly. I have a few in my stash still yet, but I do tend to buy them and use them right up, because in my world, they are incredibly usable products. Like, they're very incredibly usable products. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of this all the paper, see what I have left that I want to use to go with my photo. I want to use lots of patterns. I'm going to use all pattern paper on this, no cardstock. I also am going to set aside a lot of die cuts. Jelly bean soup is amazing when it comes to die cuts, because their die cuts and stickers are on the small side, so they are layerable and clusterable, and they're not so big. I really have a thing about big ephemera packs and big die cuts. I don't want die cut pieces larger than my photos, especially not on an 8.5 by 11 layout. Thank you. But these are just the right size. So I'm going to go through, and I am going to grab some of the sayings I want to use, and I'm also going to grab some of these icons. So this layout is about my son going fishing, but I don't want the layout to be fishy. So that was part of the reason I chose this collection. I like the idea of it being outdoorsy and colorful and fun, but I don't need, I'm not a big theme person. I'm not. I like subtle themes, or I like to pull a theme from photos that's not the obvious thing. So instead of going for, like, fish themed things, I'm going for outdoor themed things, because he was out in the woods fishing. So I decided I want to use this as my background. I'm going to have to cut it to kind of suit, because I have already punched labels out of this pattern. I think I punched it for the other side, which is this gray kind of wood grain paper. That's stunning. But I've used it already. I'm going to use the super duper colorful side for my layout. So there are the patterns that I'm going to use. I'm going to use from that word sticker, I'm going to use the today, but I'm going to cut off the T and the O, so it just says day. Now I'm cutting down these strips and I'm getting a journaling square. I'm kind of following where the sketch says the layers go. I'm going to follow that pretty exactly, except that in her sketch she has five photos, so 2 4x6s and then the 3 square ones. I'm just going to use the 3 square ones, and I'm going to interpret that block that is 2 4x6 photos just as a strip of paper. And that's how I'm going to be able to use this to create an 8.5 by 11 layout. So I'm going to add all of the paper strips in just exactly like they are in the sketch. And then what I want is I want my photos, I'm going to fidget with my photos a little bit because I want them to be on that pattern paper only far enough so that I can get my journaling. So I want my journaling in there. And so I want to be able to just kind of bump the pages. I just want to be able to bump the pictures enough that everything sits nicely. Everything is going to get some Distress Oxide ink in Vintage Photo. So I'm going to ink everything up, and then I'm going to go ahead and kind of layer everything together. And you can see those pile of die cuts right there. They're so nice. Wait till you see. I get to layer them, and they work really well. And so I'm super happy. I think this layout turned out really, really cute. It turned out exactly the way that I wanted it to go together. So I'm going to go ahead now and put everything back. I'm going to use this nice thin 1/8 inch score tape to put this thin strip down. That's going to help it. That just helps me keeps me from getting tons of tape runner on my glass mat, and then everything sticks to it. But I have been using more of this tape recently. I do love my Kokoyo tape runner. Do not get me wrong. It's fabulous. But for smaller things, I have found that I've been going ahead and grabbing this roll of tape. So now I'm going to get all of these layers onto my layout. I am going ahead and using that bold pattern in the background to help me to get everything straight. I love when I can do that. It doesn't have to be a bold pattern, but I am a huge fan of patterns that have like stripes or grids or lines of any kind that you can kind of line everything up against those lines. And I just think it makes everything look really clean, and it keeps everything straight. If you know me, you know that everything I do is crooked. So a little bit of, having those guidelines always works out well. So here are my 3 photos. You can see I kind of figured out where I needed to put them so that they are up. And you can tell here, because we've squished it together for an 8.5 by 11, that strip of paper that is photographs on a 12 by 12 layout doesn't even become an awkward area in an 8.5 by 11 page. It fills out very, very, very well. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add my journaling right there in that block. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my title. So I have the day, D-A-Y, in aqua that I've cut off. And then we have these white foam thickers that I'm going to use to do the rest of my title. And my title is going to be Catch of the Day. I'm going to fidget with them a little bit because I wanted them to sit just so, right? So we're going to fidget quite a bit with the title, getting it just so. And then I'm going to go ahead and start layering up these die cuts. I'm going to place them. So a lot of the die cuts I pulled out were things like clouds and trees and mushrooms and suns, things like that. And so my idea is to put like the suns and the clouds more towards the top of the page. and then have the trees and the mushrooms kind of sitting more towards the bottom of the page. So it kind of creates this outdoor scene, not in proportion, but it turns out really nice. I'm gonna pop some of these things up with some foam tape. A couple of things are gonna go off the edges and everything's gonna get inked up. I'm someone who, once I start to ink things, I need to ink all the things. So I either need to ink all the things or don't ink at all. So that's kind of the plan here. I am just going to continue on getting these clusters together using foam tape to pop a couple of elements up and glue everything down. So yes, think outside the box. Reimagine some of Shimelle's sketches as 8.5 by 11 layouts, or 10 by 10 layouts, or 8 by 8 layouts, or maybe at some point we'll do a traveler's notebook spread. But I'd have to find, definitely would have to find the right sketch to do that with. But we'll be back to our regular 12 by 12 layouts with a twist starting next week. I just have been aching to just get that one sketch that I looked at and went, yes, that would work really, really well for an 8.5 by 11 layout. And this was that day. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you all have a fabulous week, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.